Hello friends, welcome to the Point. In today's session, let's continue our discussion on administrative relations between center and the state. So what is the relation between center and state during emergencies? So during the operation of a national emergency, the center it is entitled to give executive directions to the states regarding any matter, and therefore the state governments, they are brought under complete control of the center under Article 356 of a constitution. When the president rule is imposed in a state, at that time the president can assume to himself the functions of the state government, and the powers that is vested in the governor or any other executive authorities in the state, that can be taken away by the president. And under Article 360 of the Constitution, during the operation of a financial emergency, the center, it can direct the states to observe canons of financial propriety, and the president can give other necessary directions, including the reduction of salaries of persons, those who are serving in the states, and the high court judges. Other provisions. Our constitution contains certain provisions which enable the center to exercise control over state administration, and according to Article 355, it imposes two duties of the center: to protect every state against external aggression and internal disturbance, and the center has to ensure that the government of every state, it is carried on in accordance with the provision of the constitution. And the governor of the state is appointed by the president, and the governor, he holds his office during the pleasure of the president. So apart from this, the constitutional head of the state, that is the governor, he acts as the agent of the center in the state. Governor submits periodical reports to the center about the administrative affairs of that particular state. The state election commissioner, even though he is appointed by the governor of the state, he can be removed only by the president. Financial relation between center and the state. According to Article 268 to 293, in part 12 of our constitution, it deals with center-state financial relation. And apart from this, there are other provisions that deals with the same subject. And this together, it can be studied under the following heads like allocation of taxing powers, distribution of tax revenues, distribution of non-tax revenues, grants and aids to the states, and so on. Let's discuss about this one by one. Allocation of taxing powers. The constitution, it divides the taxing powers between the center and the states in this following ways. The parliament, it has exclusive power to levy the taxes on the subjects that is enumerated in the union list, and similarly the state legislature, it has an exclusive power to levy the taxes on the subjects that is enumerated in the state list. Both the parliament and the state legislature, it can levy taxes on the subjects that is enumerated in the concurrent list. So those taxes are only 3 in number. And the residuary power of taxation, that is the power to impose taxes that is not enumerated in any of the list, like state list, union list, and the concurrent list. Those comes under residuary power of taxation, and it is vested in the parliament. Under this provision, the parliament has imposed gift tax, wealth tax, and expenditure tax. The constitution, it also draws a distinction between the power to levy and collect a tax and the power to appropriate the proceeds of the tax that is levied and collected. For example, the income tax is levied and collected by the center, but its proceeds are distributed between the center and the states. And further, the constitution, it has placed certain restrictions on the taxing powers of the state. They are: a state legislature, it can impose taxes on professions, trades, callings and employment, but the total amount of such taxes payable by any person, it should not exceed 2,500 per annum. The state legislature, it can impose taxes on the sale or purchase of goods other than newspaper. But this power of the states to impose sales tax, it is subjected to 4 restrictions. They are: no tax it can be imposed on sale or purchase taking place outside the states, and no tax can be imposed on the sale or purchase that is taking place in the course of import or export, and no tax can be imposed on the sale or purchase that is taking place in the course of interstate trade and commerce. And finally, a tax imposed on sale or purchase of the goods that is declared by the Parliament to be of special importance in the interstate trade and commerce, and it is a subject to restriction and conditions that is specified by the Parliament. A state legislature, it can impose tax on the consumption or sale of electricity, but no tax can be imposed on the consumption or sale of electricity which is consumed by the centre or sold to the centre. State legislature, it also cannot impose the tax on electricity that is consumed in construction, maintenance or operation of any railways by the centre or by the concerned railway company, or that is sold to the centre or the railway company for the same purpose. A state legislature, it can impose a tax in respect of any water or electricity stored, generated, consumed, distributed or sold by any authority that is established by the Parliament, and that should be for regulating or developing any interstate river or river valley. So let's discuss the present position in regard of distribution of tax revenues between the state and the centre. Taxes levied by the centre but collected and appropriated by the states according to Article 268. This category, it includes the taxes and duties like stamp duties on bills of exchange, excise duties on medicinal and toilet preparations that contains alcohol and narcotics, and the proceeds of these duties, it should be levied within any state, and it should not form a part of Consolidated Fund of India, but they are assigned to that state only. Service tax, that is levied by the centre but collected and appropriated by the centre and the states according to Article 268A. Taxes on services, they are levied by the centre, but their proceeds are collected as well as appropriated by both the centre and the states, and the principle of their collection and appropriation, they are formulated by the Parliament. Taxes levied and collected by the centre but that is assigned to the states under Article 269. Certain taxes fall under this category. They are taxes on sales or purchase of the goods other than newspaper in the course of interstate trade or commerce, and the taxes on the consignment of the goods in the course of interstate trade or commerce. Taxes that is levied and collected by the centre but distributed between the centre and the states according to Article 270 of our Indian Constitution. This category, it includes all the taxes and duties that is listed in the Union list, except certain duties like duties and taxes that is referred to Article 268, 268A and 269, which are mentioned in the first 3 points. Surcharge on taxes and duties, that is referred in Article 271. Surcharge on certain taxes and duties for purpose of the centre according to Article 271. The Parliament, it can take at any time levy the surcharges on taxes and duties that is referred in Article 269 and 270. Taxes levied and collected and retained by the states. These are the taxes that belongs to the states exclusively, and they are enumerated in the state list and are 20 in number, like land revenue, taxes on agricultural income, taxes on lands and buildings, mineral rights on animals and boats, excise duties on alcoholic liquors, and so on. Distribution of non-tax revenues. The receipts from the following, it forms the major source of non-tax revenues of the centre. They are post and telegraph, railways, banking, broadcasting, coinage and currency, central public sector enterprise, and escheat and LAP. At the states, the receipts for a certain things, they form the major source of non-tax revenues of the state, and they are irrigation, forest, fisheries, state public sector enterprise, and escheat and LAPs. Grants in aid to the states. Besides sharing of taxes between center and the states, the constitution also provides for grant in aids to the state from the central sources, and there are two types of grants. They are statutory grants and discretionary grants. Statutory grants. Article 275, it empowers the parliament to make the grants to the states, so which are in the need of financial assistance, and this grant, they are not to every state, and different sums may be fixed for different states, and these sums, they are charged on Consolidated Fund of India every year. And apart from these general provisions, the constitution, it also provides for specific grants for promoting the welfare of the scheduled tribes in a state or raising the level of administration of scheduled areas in a state, including the state of Assam. The statutory grants under Article 275, they are given to the states on the recommendation of Finance Commission. Discretionary grants. Article 282, it empowers both the center and the states to make grants for any public purpose, even if it is not within their respective legislative competence. So, under this provision, the center makes grants to the states. So, these grants are known as discretionary grants, and the reason being that the center is under no obligation to give these grants, and the matter lies within the discretion. So, these grants, they have twofold purpose. One is to help the states financially to fulfill planned targets and to give some leverage to the center to influence and coordinate state action to effectuate the national plan. Other grants. The constitution, it also provided for a third type of grants in aid, but this is for temporary period. Therefore, a provision was made for grants in lieu of export duties on jute and jute products to the states of Assam, Bihar, Orissa and West Bengal. And these grants were to be given for a period of 10 years from the commencement of the constitution, and these sums were charged on Consolidated Fund of India, and they were made to the states on the recommendation of Finance Commission. Finance Commission. Article 280, it provides for Finance Commission as a quasi-judicial body, and it is constituted by the President every 5th year or even earlier. The Finance Commission should make recommendations to the President on the matters like the distribution of net proceeds of taxes that is to be shared between the center and the states, the principles which should govern the grants in aid to the states by the center, that is out of Consolidated Fund of India, and the measures that is needed to augment the Consolidated Fund of a state to supplement the resource of the panchayats and the municipalities in the state on the basis of the recommendation that is made by the State Finance Commission, and any other matter that is referred to it by the President in the interest of sound finance. So, till 1960, the Commission also suggested the amounts paid to the states of Assam, Bihar, Orissa and West Bengal in lieu of assignment of any share of the net proceeds in each year of export duty on jute and jute products. Protection of states' interest. So, in order to protect the interest of states in the financial matters, the Constitution, it lays down that certain bills can be introduced in the Parliament only, that too on the recommendation of President. A bill which imposes or varies any tax or duty in which states are interested, and a bill which varies the meaning of the expression agricultural income as it is defined for the purpose of enactments that relates to Indian income tax, and a bill which affects the principles on which money or it may be distributed to the states. A bill which imposes any surcharge or any specified tax or a duty for the purpose of the center. And the expression tax or duty in which states are interested means a tax or duty the whole or the part of the net proceeds, or a tax or duty by reference to the net proceeds whereof sums are for the time being payable, that is out of consolidated fund of India to any other state. The term or the phrase net proceeds means the proceeds of a tax or a duty minus cost of collection is nothing but net proceeds. Borrowing by the center and the states. The constitution, it makes certain provisions with regard to borrowing powers of the center and the states, and they are: the central government, it can borrow either within India or outside upon the security of the consolidated fund of India, or it can give guarantees, but both within the limits that is fixed by the parliament. And similarly, a state government, it can borrow within India and not abroad upon the security of the consolidated fund of the state, or can give guarantees, but both within the limits that is fixed by the state legislature. The central government, it can make loans to any state, or it can give guarantees in respect of loans that is raised by any state. So any sums required for the purpose of making such loans, they are to be charged on the consolidated fund of India. A state cannot raise any loan without the consent of the center. If there is still outstanding any part of a loan that is made to the state by the center, or in respect of which a guarantee has been given by the center. So in the next session, let's continue our discussion on financial relations and the intergovernmental tax immunities and the effects of emergencies and the trends in center-state relations. Thank you.